Hello. I want to talk about featurism and colorism in families. So I have a bunch of brothers and sisters, cousins, a huge family, right? On multiple different sides. In my brothers and sisters, we're not all blood related, but it's like step siblings, and then there's like, someone will be related to someone. Okay. Anyway, I grew up with me and my sisters. I'm going to talk about us first, and then I'm going to talk about the boys too. But I always knew that there was featurism, and I didn't know what the term colorism was when I was a child, but obviously I see how that played a big part in my life and my siblings' life, and how it tore us apart in a lot of ways. And I think that's something that people don't talk about. When I started this channel, it was because of my other channel is because I felt the pushback within the African American community. I never really had a problem with that until I started being attacked for being mixed. I didn't really have an issue with that because where I'm from, it's just you're mixed, you're black, you're white. We didn't really too much have Asians. We have one Asian family, one Latin family, so it's that's just what it was. It wasn't really a big deal. I mean, some people were against mixing the races or whatever, but it is what it is. When it comes to colorism within my siblings group, especially with the girls, it was not, how would I say? I think featurism played a bigger part, because while I had MGM sisters, so an MGM sister who was she had a biracial mom, and she had I think he's MGM or a black dad, and he was brown skin, so I really don't know. But they will always tell her, well, you're just black. But she's clearly mixed. Her mother's mixed, she looks mixed, she's light-skinned. She doesn't have the same experience that I do, but she does have a mixed race experience. And I know that people often would compare us. They would compare me to all my siblings, and it was agitating. And I feel during childhood or throughout my life, I benefited from featurism within my sibling group, and I feel it turned certain people against me, because people want you to compete with your siblings for some reason. I hated being compared to my siblings, because it's I love my siblings. I think they're all beautiful, and I know that certain people will like things that I have, and certain people will like things that they have. But I feel sometimes my siblings would take their anger out on me, and I'm not judging them, because we were kids, right? I'm not judging that, but I see how the outside world affected us, and I don't think that's talked about enough, because we always talk about it with in the world, or how people are treated within society, but we don't talk about how it happens within the own family. And that really affected me. I felt sometimes I was being punished by not just my sisters, but other people too, for getting praised for things that I didn't like getting praised for. So they'll be oh, your eyes are so pretty, oh, you're so pretty, but then it's now everyone's mad at me. And the parents or the caregivers, whatever you want to call them, they didn't do a good job at navigating that and making sure we all felt beautiful without throwing a temper tantrum. Because I have a story time on how the stepfather, he threw a temper tantrum at a restaurant because a woman called my eyes beautiful, and he was everyone's eyes is beautiful, but he caused a scene. And I feel that wasn't the right way of going about. I feel he could have joked it off. Aren't their eyes beautiful too? Not in a weird, how do I put it? Not in a attention seeking way, but I feel there was a better way of going about it than causing a scene. And I never liked that people will point me out from the group, because I felt they were hurting my other siblings' feelings. And it's we're all beautiful, and I get that. I'm trying to be careful, because this isn't just my feelings about things, but I feel for a long time, I never got to say how I felt about it. It was always like, in my household, it was always like how everyone else felt about it. And I don't get to have an opinion because people are treating me well. Okay. But sometimes I felt like I was over sexualized and no one cared because I was getting praised. I felt like there was a lot of times I was put in positions that I shouldn't have been put in, and people were preying on me, and certain people just didn't care. Not necessarily my siblings, because they didn't know until after the fact. But I felt like in society, no one cared because people were praising me for features that were like, they liked. They were like, oh, well, you're getting praised for that, so you don't get to have feelings. And it's like, okay, but I'm also being sexually harassed by teachers. Like, I feel like I was sexually harassed, and my friends had to help me a lot to get out of that. It would be all of us, right? My siblings, my friends in the neighborhood, and people will point me out and be like, oh, don't you want to hang out with us adults? And I'm like, no, like, I want to hang out with my siblings. I want to hang out with the kids. And they're like, you need to grow up. And I felt like sometimes when I would turn to, like, my friends or even my siblings, they would be like, you always get the attention. And it's like, okay, but, like, you don't see that this is negative. This isn't a positive. Like, this is actually, like, traumatizing. Like, there are adults who are trying to put me in an adult space just because they want access to a certain phenotype. And that is damaging. And I feel like I'm kind of, I want everyone to be able to tell their side, but I just want everyone to actually listen how, like, scary it was, and it's not all it's cracked up to be. And I know predators will go after anybody. I'm just saying, I felt like I got no even empathy, sympathy, whatever. Like, I got no, like, recognition of, like, you're also being traumatized by this. You know how, like, they say, Dr. Riley talks about this, like, the golden child is still a victim. And I feel like that's something that people do not really realize how deep that goes. Like, oh, they're getting all this candy, they're getting all these gifts, but at what cost? It's not, I'm gonna look up that girl's name, the little girl, Joe Bennett or something like that. She's a perfect example. She's getting all these accolades, but at what cost? At what cost? And I feel like I wish people just knew that it's not all it's cracked up to be. Like, it's really not. And of course, I love the way I look, and I think there's beauty in every shade, every race, everything. But we need to, like, stop diminishing other people's feelings or silencing them when they speak up about it, because that's not fair. Also, like, I was attacked verbally within the home and physically within the home because of me getting attention by a man that was in the home. He would be like, oh, you're pretty, knowing that the woman in the home would attack me physically or verbally or try to tear me down because of that attention. As a kid, obviously, like, I didn't understand it. I'm like, why are y'all bothering me? Like, I don't really get it. I thought that being pretty was dangerous. Like, I genuinely thought that being pretty was like, I'm going to keep getting attacked. I'm going to be physically attacked. I'm going to be essayed. And there's nothing I could do about it, because I had boys at my school when I went to Curtis Bay. I don't think they went to my school. I don't know what school they went to. Maybe like Baybrook. But they were like, oh, we could do whatever you want to. Nobody's going to protect you. You don't have a race. They literally said that to me. And, like, it scared me. So I'm like, oh, this is being taught to them. So that means that's how, in my mind, I'm like, is that how everyone views it? Like, I knew, like, obviously when I left that neighborhood, like, no, everyone doesn't view it that way, but a lot of people do. And I think that's, like, the unspoken thing that people don't talk about. Like, there's people who will prey on the idea that, like, you don't have a tribe. I think that's why mixed race people are, like, I forgot how much they said, we're, like, more likely to be, like, R-worded than anybody else. And I think that's just, we don't have a tribe, so we don't have, like, people backing us up, because people can say, oh, like, you fit into this community or you fit into that community, but then when a person from that community is doing it, they're gonna be like, no, because you're not really one of us. That has happened so freaking often. A great example of this is I'm pretty sure Meghan Markle fit perfectly into the white community until she stepped on toes. And that happens far too often. Also, people would try to separate me and my siblings and be like, oh, they're the black one, or you're the white one, or vice versa. Sometimes they would accept me and not my other siblings, because like I have like mixed siblings who just purely look like they're freaking Mexican, and they're not Mexican at all. Like they're literally white and black and indigenous, but they look Mexican. And I would have people try to separate us and be like, you're the black one, right? And we accept you, but they act white, when they really didn't. Like, they didn't act white at all. But once they got me by themselves, they would switch. Or they'd be like, you're accepted into the white community. But once they got me by themselves, they would switch on me. It didn't really matter which side it was. It always happened like that. And then obviously, like, I've met amazing people in all these races. I'm not talking about that. I love you guys so much. I'm not saying like it was all bad. I'm just saying like there was a lot of people who preyed on like featurism and, oh, well, you have these features, so you look more like us. Or, oh, when I was little, everyone always was like, you look white to me, you look white to me. And it's like, I don't think I look white at all. But they will always say that, and they will be like, oh, well, this sibling looks Mexican, so yeah, I'm not gonna deal with them because they don't look like us. And I'm just like, if you're not gonna deal with my sibling, you're not gonna deal with me. Point blank, period. I don't care. And that's why I advocate so much for mixed race spaces, because it's needed. And I don't give a damn what version of mix you look like. I, from my own family, know we look 1,000 different ways. I changed throughout the year of how I look. Sometimes I look more white-leaning. Sometimes I look more mixed. Or sometimes I look more black. I don't know. It just changes. Sometimes I look more indigenous. It changes from day to day. Like, I really don't know. But a big thing is, like, with people like my brother, who is more black passing, but he's still mixed race because my dad's Afro-Indigenous, and you know, that makes him Afro-Indigenous. They'll just, growing up, they'll be like, oh, well, you're just black. And it's like, no, he's not. Like, you're erasing a whole identity within him of being indigenous and like what that may mean to him, and you just don't care. And people be like, oh, well, get over it. Or like feel like they had ownership over him, and it's like, you don't. I noticed growing up that people would speak to me before they would speak to my siblings, and I didn't really understand that. Like, I was like, is it because I look friendly? And then I don't know, like, I just feel like they tried to isolate my siblings from me, which was really freaking creepy, because a lot of these people were adults, but they would often do that. And when I would like call it out, they would always be like, oh, well, if you don't like agree with us, we're not going to talk to you. Okay, then don't talk to me. It's really that simple. And I've realized there's a lot of weirdos in the world who, I don't know if they're narcissistic or not, but they would make it a point to triangulate me and my siblings and be like, oh, y'all look nothing alike. Like, y'all really look nothing alike. Aren't you so pretty? And I'm like, you keep calling me pretty and you're not saying nothing to my siblings. Like, you're trying to rub it in and like cause them harm. That's really weird. And then they would do that to me. Like, they'll try to do the same thing with me, with my siblings. Like, oh, look at her. She looks more this or more that. With my, I can't say my sister's name because I don't know if she wants to be put on here, but they would do that with us. And it didn't matter which one. It was always a different one. But, like, I know that, like, it never worked for me because I could just see through it. I'm like, it's not working. Like, stop it. I feel like they do that because they want to cause, like, friction within sibling relationships and within communities. Like, they get off on drama. They know that the quickest way to get attention is they think it's like, oh, I'll put down your sister and then you'll like me. Or I'll put down you and uplift your sister and then you'll chase me. Either way, do you get what I'm saying? Like, they would just do that all the time. And I hated it. I hated it so much because it's like, it's so gross. Like, ew. Like, I will never, and I was always vocal about it. Like, I will never, like, I see right through you. I'm going to call everything you're doing out. I'm going to tell you why I know what you're doing. And they'll be like, okay, like, dang, like, I'm just playing. Like, it's not funny, though. Because you're actually causing friction in people's relationship, because not everyone can see through the BS. And I felt like a lot of society preyed on the fact that people want to fit in, right? And people want to date or things like that. And it can make people hate other people because they're being approached first. But that person being approached may feel uncomfortable too, or maybe like start getting bullied by people they're close to. Like, I had friends who would like start bullying me because I was getting approached. But when they got approached, I never freaking cared. Like, I never cared. But it's like when I did, they would throw a freaking temper tantrum, and I never understood that. I'm like, it's like, do you want to sleep with everybody in the world? Like, do you want to date everyone in the world? I don't get that. Relax. And then people would try to like dismiss, and by the way, this is not like race specific. It happened in different type of races. But people would like, anytime someone would give me a compliment, like, oh, you're only complimenting them because of her green eyes, or you're only complimenting her because she's light skinned. And it's like, damn, bitch, can I just be pretty and you accept it? Like, you don't have to do all that. It's not that necessary. And it like made me not want to be a friend with people, because it's like, if you're gonna keep doing this, like, seek help. Again, I've dealt with that from my egg donor who was white a lot of the time. She would say that shit all the time. And it's like, enough. It's not like, stop it. And this part is not really like about like skin color or anything. This is more so about like body type. I grew up really skinny, and I wasn't allowed to wear what the other ones were allowed to wear, like my other siblings. And I was like, everyone can wear shorts, but I can't. And I didn't have a freaking body. Like, oh, my other siblings, like, some of them had bodies. And I'm like, why are they allowed to wear this, but I'm not? Like, I felt like I was put on this, like, weird, over-sexualized pedestal, but they were allowed to do whatever they wanted. I don't know. That irritated the hell out of me. And I feel like a lot of that happens to do with, like, the man in that house was, like, a predator towards me, and it was normalized. I don't understand how y'all let that happen, but that was terrible. And I feel like a lot of him preying on me was like this Featurism BS of like him. I don't know even how to explain it. He would constantly compare my eyes and be like, they will always point out those things, like your eyes or your hair or like my skin color, and it grossed me out. Like, I felt so disgusting. Not because of my features. I loved my features, and I love my siblings' features too. Like, I think we're all freaking beautiful, but I just felt like it was always over sexualized, and it's like, stop it. And you know, the girls who got it, like the girls who got me, was like, again, like, I don't understand this whole thing about like light skin versus dark skin thing, because my dark skin friends got it, especially the ones who had like bodies at an early age. They knew exactly what I was feeling. They're like, no, I get it, because it was always me and them being over sexualized, like, all the time. Like, I remember I had this one friend, we were walking down the street, and this guy freaking crashed his car with his girlfriend inside of it because he was staring at us. And this guy started laughing like, see, he's staring at y'all, that's your fault. I'm like, he literally looked at us like, it's your fault I'm doing this. And I'm like, how's my fault you crashed your car? Don't look at us. Like, it's that simple. But I feel like people don't understand what it feels like to have, like, they always, like, glorify, like, big butts or, like, green eyes or, like, whatever, certain hair types or anything like that. It's so much negativity that comes with it. It's so much, like, being preyed upon or not treated like a freaking human. It doesn't matter if someone grabs the girl with the big butts, but because that's her fault, she's being fast. All she was doing is wearing an outfit that everyone wears, but she has a body in it. All I'm doing is standing there, and because some guy likes my eyes, it's okay for him to say vulgar things at me or grab on me. Like, I feel like they don't take into consideration, like, how we feel. That we're not treated as human. And I just don't, I will never understand that. Like, it's not our fault. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. And there's people who think like, oh, you're treated better in society because you have like featurism, as in like maybe a big butt or like light eyes or anything like that. But it's like, okay, at what cost? Is that really being treated better in society? Is it? If you're constantly being sexualized, and I'll see in the comments, they'll be like, everyone is. And I'm like, yeah. So then how am I benefiting from it? If everyone is being like over sexualized or attacked or things like that, then how am I benefiting from it? Because at the same point, you'll back them up and defend them and support them if they are R-worded or essayed, but then you'll look at us and say that we had it coming to us because of, you know what I mean, our freaking bodies, or oh, you think you're all that because of your eyes, that's what you get. I've had people freaking say that to me. I had a girl laugh at a man putting his hands on me, and I didn't even want that man. Like, I didn't even, like, we weren't even like that, and she was just sitting there laughing at it, and I'm like, you're a girl doing this, how could, like, what is wrong with you? And it was, that's what y'all get, your type think you're all that. And it's like, I've seen that happen to my friends who like have bodies, and like people do that to them. It's not our fault. Like, it's not. And I'm just tired of it. Like, I feel like it's just so one-sided. Like, it's so one-sided. And I feel like the BBL movement kind of made people realize like, oh, we were mistreating and acting like people's bodies like didn't have feelings, or like they were stuck up, or they thought they were better than everybody because they had a body. But this isn't all it's cracked up to be. Like, it's always being over sexualized. They get it now, right? But people don't get that, like, it's the same thing with like Featurism. People just objectify you. It's just a way to be objectified more, and then treat it like your feelings don't matter on the situation. When you don't want to be objectified, when you don't like it, people will turn against you. And even if you do try to play in it, people will still try to put you down 24/7. Like, you're not all that. Bitch, don't talk to me then. What are you talking to me for? I don't care. And they'll be like, oh, you're more likely to get a job, right? But if you're just going to be in a toxic work environment, is that really healthy? Like, I don't feel like it's healthy. Like, we all hear the Me Too stories coming out. Oh, by the way, men go through this too, 1000%. Like, I have seen women and men do the most heinous things to other men or to men, and be like, he's a man, just get over it. He's a pretty boy. I've seen guys rough up on like push up on guys and be like, oh, he's a pretty boy, he looks like a girl, I know the difference. And I like will call it out or try to fight it, and people tell me, shut up, he deserves it. I literally had that happen, seen that happen, and I was just like, you were sick. Like, I have never been the one to bite my tongue. That literally happened. There's actually a video of something like that happening too, by the same type of people. And if you look it up on YouTube, it happened in Brooklyn, Maryland. When I tell you, that place is a fucking crazy place, man. But this happens to like males and females, and people don't care. Like, they don't care when you have a body, when you're pretty, or when you're like, you know what I mean, these things that people seem desirable. Your humanity is just like, oh well. They don't care. Like, they lack empathy for people who are like that. They feel like, oh, you have everything given to you. At what cost? And you still don't really have everything given to you, because people think that like everyone else is giving it to you, so they want to be like, oh, I've had people say, oh, I'm not gonna call you pretty, everyone calls you pretty. And I'm like, who the fuck asked you? I didn't ask you to call me pretty. I didn't ask you to talk to me. And then it'll be like, you don't gotta be so fucking rude, that's why people like you were always stuck up. I'm like, bitch, people like you were always saying dumb shit to me. That's why. But back to like my siblings. Yeah, like, it would just, they were always doing that crap with us. Like, they were always trying to compare our features and just obsess over like, oh, I feel like sometimes certain siblings got to be treated like children and I didn't. Like, I feel like I was treated like an adult because people wanted to be around me because they wanted to, like, you know, and because of that, you know, as like POCs, right, we're already not treated like kids when we're kids, right? We're already adultified. But man, is there an extra layer when you have something, a feature, whether it be like having a body, like developing early is what I mean by having a body, or having like eyes that people want, or hair, or like skin color, anything stupid. Oh my god, remember when they used to say you have DSO lips to us? They started saying that to me when I was like fucking 5. Like literally young as hell on the playground, people would say that to me. Disgusting, absolutely disgusting. When you have a desirable feature or multiple desirable features, you're not getting treated like a child. Maybe for like the white community, I've seen like my friends who are white like still get treated like children even though like they were pretty. But like when you're a POC, people don't care. I remember a cop who was sexually harassing me would say, "Oh, it doesn't matter with you, y'all age quicker." That's exactly how he said. He was like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter with you guys, y'all age quicker, like you're more mature for your age because of me being a POC." And I'm like, what the hell? And he tried to justify teen pregnancy is why he said that. But no, bitch, ew, you're disgusting. But my friends around me who were also POCs, like a lot of them got treated like they were allowed to be kids. They were allowed to have fun. They were allowed to just exist. I feel like I wasn't granted that option. And it's really traumatizing when you're always being preyed upon. And people don't care. Like, people do not care. They'll laugh at it happening to you. And it's just really, I don't know, it's just like really hard to experience. Like, I remember I had like this boy, when I was new to Baltimore in Brooklyn, on Curtis Bay Hill, and this boy was like grabbing my, like, he was pushing me and then like trying to yank on my shirts and like grab my like chest area. Not that I had like a big chest or anything, I was a kid, but he was doing all that stuff to me, and there was a grown man sitting there dying laughing. It was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna protect you, you're not my people." And I'm just like, I was so in shock, because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell is happening? And they did not care. Like, they genuinely did not give a fuck, because he was like, "Oh, that's what you get," calling me like high yellow and stuff. Like, that shit was so fucking nasty. It makes me so angry when I think about things I experienced there. And the women did nothing. They rolled their eyes at me and they all sat there and watched me being attacked by this boy. And so I started screaming things back at him about himself, and then everyone wants to jump in like, "Oh no, you can't say that." Who the fuck are you to tell me I can't say something to someone who's attacking me where you're sitting there watching them attack me? Like, that mess was so insane to me. And that's the thing that I'm talking about. Like, people only see it from one side, and I get it, because sometimes you can't see through your own pain. I genuinely understand that. But it's like, it's so agitating when you know the truth and people are sitting there pretending like it just does not exist. We all know it exists, and I'll never turn against like any other POC who wants to be an ally to me. I will always be an ally to you, but I'm never gonna stop telling my truth and like my side of things and what really happened to me, because it makes other people uncomfortable. Like, I just can't do it. And like, you know, sometimes being mixed race and stuff like that, people will accept my other mixed siblings because they're more like black passing or something. Like, I remember I went to Lexington Market, and it was like, you know, our guardians or whatever, and it was us, and everyone else, like, they were cool with, but they were staring me down. They didn't know me, I didn't know them, and they were staring me down, and I was not an adult. It was grown ass people staring me down, mugging me, a child, not the interracial couple that y'all should assume created me, right? My dad wasn't there, but it was an interracial couple who were our guardians, and they didn't give a fuck about them, but they were staring me, a child, down. They didn't care about my sibling because you know what I mean, but they were doing that to me. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's people who just have so much animosity for us for just existing, because they don't believe in mixing the races. But instead of taking that out on like the parents, they take it out on me. But they, little do they know, my sibling is mixed race too. But it doesn't matter because they're more digestible for them. It's infuriating experiencing things like that. And I've been experiencing things like that my entire life. And like my brother, he's mixed race, but he's digestible. And people accept him. And I don't need to be accepted, but the vitriol that is like spewed at us sometimes, like me, it's not okay. Especially because I was not an adult most of the time that I experienced it. I wasn't. Or like I went to like this school backpack giveaway with my cousins, and they're mixed race too, right? Like they're descendants from my grandmother, who is mixed race. She's indigenous and black. And they all accept them, and they're like, oh, and they're like, oh no, you can't be here, white girl. And I'm like, you don't even own this giveaway. Who the fuck are you to tell me where I can and cannot be? And because I'll snap like that, people will like still have an attitude with me, but like brush me off. But they'll just stare me down the whole time. But with other kids, like they'll keep trying to bully them. Like I had a friend, I'm not gonna say his name, but I'm gonna call him Jay. I've seen them try to like push him or like little boy him on the MTA when we would come home from school. And I'll be the one snapping, and everyone will act like, oh, Mika, don't do that. Like, don't react. Like, you don't have to act like them. And it's like, no. If you want to bully, I'm going to bully you back. And then, like, people can't handle it. And it's like, I feel like that's, like, that part of, like, Featurism where it's like, if you're more, like, digestible, they won't bother you. Like, I had friends who, like, more digestible, they don't bother them. But because we look a part of like being like someone they can view as weaker, they will keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you snap back. And it's like this stereotype that like light-skinned people are weak. Oh my god, I feel like I've been fighting that like my entire life. And I don't like fighting, but I will always defend myself. And I shouldn't have to. I should be left the fuck alone. Like, it's really that simple. I shouldn't have to fight because people are insane and want to bully people just because of their phenotype. I've literally had boys growing up like put their fucking hands on me and like be like, oh, like, get in my face, growl in my face. Oh my goodness. And like, this is not even a race-based thing. Like, I've had it on both sides do that shit to me. And then when I snap back, it's like, oh no, you're supposed to be sweet, like you're too pretty to fight back or something. Because like, ew, like it's like they're just every which way projecting like their opinions of how they view me onto me. And then these grown ass women who would sleep with little fucking boys will be like, oh, he's just doing that because you're light skinned. Y'all know, you know, you're all weak, you know, y'all can't fight. And then it's like, if you snap with them, it's like, oh, see, now you're acting stuck up. And that was like, a white woman said that to me. So again, this is not a race-based thing, but there's so many negative stereotypes that come from being light skinned with green eyes and stuff that like, I feel like you constantly fighting your entire life. Like, it's just like, it gets to a point where you can't handle it anymore. And like a side of like where white people think they can say whatever they want about POCs to you and be like, oh, you can't get mad because you're not fully black or you're not fully indigenous. Like, you're not gonna talk about my people and something that I'm part of in front of me and think I'm just gonna sit there and take it. Like, I'm not. And then they'll try to turn the, oh, you're a savage, you're ghetto on you. I don't give a fuck how you view me. You're not talking about my people. Like, you're just not. And that's something that I've dealt with my entire life too. And I mean my entire life since being like back home in South Carolina. That was such a common thing. Like, they would purposely seek out mixed people and try to like, see, people don't know this. They'll seek out us, right? Because we're known as being like docile. That's what they think. Until we snap on them and they'll be like, say the most racist, outrageous shit to us and then be like, oh, you can't get mad. You're not fully indigenous. You're not fully black. And it's like, bitch, you're not accepted in your society. Like, you're literally, like, the people who do that shit, it's like no one is thinking about you. And that's why you're so insecure enough to do it. Because you're not accepted with your people. Like, and then when you point that out to them, they want to, like, play the victim. Just, like, it's like every side is, like, I don't know. It's like we deal with so many beautiful people, like beautiful people of all races, but then we deal with like the most negative crap from every version because they think we're the easy targets. Whereas people like my brother, he wouldn't have experienced that because people know he will snap on them. Like or not even snap on them, but like people will look at my brother and be like, no, that is a tall 6'7" man. I am not playing with him. Like, he doesn't look like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have the features or the phenotype to make him look like, you know what I mean? Like, what you view as like the weak, light skin dude. Like, he doesn't have that. He just looks like, oh, he's mixed, but you know what I mean? He looks like a strong Afro-Indigenous boy. Like, he doesn't give off that. But then I have another brother who was constantly tried, like constantly, because he was light skinned and he was deemed weak, and he has had to fight his entire fucking life. And his brother, who is his full-blooded, same mama, same daddy brother, has had to fight for him his entire, like, not fight for him, fight with him. Like, my brothers can fight. We've had to learn, because it's like people constantly bothering the ones of us who are deemed weak just because of our phenotype, and that's not fair. And it's not just from one side, it's from all sides. And it's a matter of fact, let me just point this out, it's not just from the hood. Hell no. I've had so many suburban people, so many country people, so many quote-unquote upper class people do the same crap. Like, let's stop the BS about it only happens in the hood. No, it happens everywhere. And if it's not physical, it's verbal. So it's like, yeah, we've always had, I feel like me and my brother look a lot alike. Like, we look a lot alike, and we've always had to like fight, like, because of like our looks, and people think we're weak. And the funniest thing is, me and my brother don't even have the same mom. Like, his mom is light skinned, my mom is white. So it's like, and we go through the same exact crap. That's why it's like, people like, whoa, you have a light skinned mom, you experience more of the same thing that we do, you belong over here with us. And it's like, no, because their phenotype is the same as mine. They're still mixed race. I don't care. And even my brown skin brothers, or matter of fact, my dad is brown skin some of the time. Sometimes he's like lighter skin, but a lot of time he's brown skin, or even like brown dark skin. He goes through a lot of it. People treat him like, because his features, they'll be like, he has like green eyes like me, and they'll be like, you're not really black, or things like that. And it's like, he's being treated othered from like the black community, which is what he like relates to the most, and indigenous people, but mainly the black community. It's like, why are you othering him? Mostly men do that. Women love him. Women fucking adore my dad. Like, they are obsessed with him. And you know what? Do y'all. I ain't judging. But yeah, it's like, with my brother, I think like some of my brothers have like light brown eyes versus like green eyes, and it feels like they're more accepted in like certain communities, and they're treated better within certain communities, and then I'm treated better within certain communities than my siblings. It's just, I don't know, it really depends on the freaking crowd half the time. But like, a weird funny thing is that like, my eldest brother always had to fight for like my second eldest brother, because he was like light skinned and people viewed him as weak. And then my brother had to always fight, like my brother who's like older than me, I have a lot of siblings, he always had to fight for me. He's like the middle child, and he always had to fight for me. And I know it was exhausting for him. Like, he would just like, just go in the house. And I'm like, it's not fair that I have to go in the house because people keep trying to attack me. Like, it's not fair. But then I would have like other people try to fight my sisters because they were different, and maybe I was more digestible for them. But I promise you, the second you get away from your people, which are mixed people, they're gonna turn on you. They always do that. They did it to my brothers, and they did it to me, because just like they view my dad as like, they other my dad a little bit, they're gonna do the same thing to my brothers when we aren't around. Like, we're just a target because we're like the most obvious, but then when it gets to just being you and them, they're gonna other you too. Like, that's the same thing that happened to me. And one thing people hate, and I mean people loathe, is that they hate that like mixed recognizes mixed. Like, I don't care if you're Griff, if you're mulatto, I don't care if you're my people, if you're Afro-Indigenous and white, but like, say you're like darker skin. I don't care. You're still my people. And they don't like that. Like, they don't like that. And I mean every race, the bad people, not the good people. Not talking about y'all. They don't like that we are, like, close and that it doesn't matter to us. Like, mix is just mix. I don't care. Like, as long as you're, like, you know, an ally, I'm gonna be an ally to you. But I'm talking about, like, phenotype within our group. I don't care if you have light eyes, dark eyes. I think we're all beautiful. Like, I mean, obviously there's ugly people everywhere, like in every group, but you know what I mean. And people don't like that. Like, they always said that with me and my siblings, they did not like that we didn't care about our, like, you have blue eyes, I have green eyes, you have brown eyes, you have hazel eyes. I don't give a shit. You're light skin, I'm pale sometimes, I'm light skin sometimes. My other sister is brown skin sometimes. I don't give a crap, because you're still my sibling, you're still my family, and I'm gonna treat you accordingly. Like, you're still mixed in my eyes. I don't give a crap about that. It just is what it is. And they would always try to separate us because of that. Like, don't project your BS on our community. That's why I advocate so much for mulattoes. I don't care if you're a darker skinned mulatto because your mother is from Nigeria. I love Nigerians, by the way. I don't care. You're still my people, and I'm still going to treat you accordingly. And I'm still going to love the different sides of my race, whether you're white, black, indigenous. I don't care. I'm still going to love you. And that's just my take on Featurism. It is so prevalent, and people are always going to try to pin you against each other. But you don't have to let that affect you. Fuck them people. Like, who are they? I'm a sassy girl, so I would just give them as good as it takes. But yeah, people always try to compare me to my siblings, and I would always tell my siblings, like, ignore it, because they're doing the same thing to me, I promise you. And the second you leave, they're gonna try to tear me down. That's why, like, when they would compare me and try to, like, oh yeah, the same sibling that they would try to tell me I was better than, they would do the same thing, like, oh, she's better than you, because I'm like, isn't she beautiful? Doesn't she have lovely hair? And they would hate it. They would fucking hate it. And I'll be like, bitch, you're so mad, because that doesn't work with me. It doesn't. Like, who cares? Fuck them people, man. But that's all for this video. Thank you if you listened all the way through. Let me know, have people try to compare you to your siblings? Have you experienced, like, negative side effects of, like, the downsides of, like, whatever these things are, Featurism, colorism, all that stuff? Because I have, I know my siblings have, and I feel like eventually everyone wakes up. Some people don't, and you just gotta be like, you know what, if you don't see through it, you don't see through it. But if you do, then you get it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Bye.